December 26, 2013. No turning back. We got the hang of it a little bit now. Yep, we sure do. We even added some personal touches of our own. Anxieties running rampant have now evolved into anticipated episodes of blessed assurances. I have given away everything worth sharing, and I have tossed all unnecessary baggage. There has never been such a loud indication of the tick-tock of a clock of time in my mind as it was on the last day we actually belonged anywhere. This was it. I had no destination, and once we pulled off, we had nowhere to return. We drove the motorhome around the local area for about a month before we agreed that we had the hang of it. I mean, we went to the corner stores, laundromat, Walmart, picking up the children from practices. I mean, you name it, we took it there in the worst conditions, worst case scenarios. I'm the type of person that runs to trouble to discover how not to be forced into it without having knowledge of how to control it. Blame it on the gypsy in me. I had lived in the worst house in the best neighborhood. I am the misunderstood champion for the greater good, and even in this classification of my person, it still wasn't satisfactory enough for me to stay in a brick and mortar anymore. The anxiety was so overwhelming at one point, I actually considered scrapping the whole idea and just remain a functional part of society, even if it wasn't favorable to me. Sometimes you're in a storm, and the only one that knows it's you. And with that being said, there was no way that I was staying in Northern Illinois once this happened. The snow reached the bottom of my knees, and I would have rather been in the heat of hell than endured the coldness of it. But what happened to me could not wait until the weather was over. We had to leave and never look back. The power of not being able to carry any unwanted baggage and people's opinion is what gave us all the bravery to endure negative-degree temperatures, to drive the motorhome straight through the hell of winter, riding in our heaven on wheels. I grabbed my 4 children, my puppy Sirius, my 3 birds, Mordecai, Sonny, and Stratus, my best friend, and everything I valued, and we pulled off, looking back until we couldn't see the evidence of where we came from. Leaving my dad hurt a lot, and even as I write this, I miss him more than I can acknowledge in these letters. You see, my dad is the kind of dad that showed up every day with something. My dad was the constant reminder that love exists in so many different forms on the planet. This is the kind of dad I have, and why it's the hardest thing I had to leave behind. Him in his 73 years of age. His name is Sam Wilson, and he's from Senatobia, Mississippi. And he's someone everyone should know. But even in all that I miss him, I'm compelled to move beyond the expressed sorrows of missing yesterdays because my soul desired to meet the origin of my being. We were headed back to where my family is from, where the idea of a bloodline and the knowledge of a lineage began. We were on a journey back in time, a time before me, a time before my children, a time lost in the forgetfulness of my familiarity. I was heading for that forgotten time, and at my attempt at resurrecting them within me and my children is my first mission on my journey. I don't think you can go very far if you don't know where you've been. So through the snowstorms and surviving being hit by tour buses and losing my awning in a freezing snow windstorm, this is the desperation of the truth that we needed to move on, even if it seemed like we were going backwards. We watched so many accidents and cars turned over and stuck in the snow that it felt like we were in a disaster movie. It was weird to me that I found myself comparing real life to a movie as if it was the real thing. I believe I allowed myself to have the movies dictate to me what a winter storm was like, to the point that when I finally was in one, I acknowledged the movies to be more real than my own live experience. That observation of myself stunned me. This is one of the first times I realized that I had already started to think differently, not being connected to an anchor. Before we left, I went to see a brother that I purchased a few things from time to time. A hustle man is what we call him. I was introduced to him by my childhood friend named Tyron. We showed him the rig and we talked a lot about the South and shared experiences. To this day, I don't even know his name. We just called him Hustle Man. You needed something, you called him up and he could get it for you, or he already had it. Anyway, I bring Hustle Man up because he had a genuine concern that can only come from a stranger in regards to our safety and well-being. He had such a genuine pursuit of the well-being of my family that it was more than heartfelt, because he wasn't my family. He wasn't even considered a friend, but I guess those accolades aren't needed for the pure at heart. While we were riding down the interstate and we seen so many cars being turned over, all I heard in my head play over and over again was, "Be careful. You guys, please be careful. Please be careful. Please be careful." He begged me and my family to be safe. And to me, that was so genuine and heartfelt. And that is the first God that I will acknowledge that I met on my journey. His name is Hustle Man, and me and my family, we thank you so much for your unmerited love.
Mom, how much longer?
What? What are these kids talking about?
Mom, when are we gonna get there?
I think the reality of what we were doing has just now sunk into the children.
Mom, can we just go home?
12 hours later, and it just dawned on them that this is it. It was difficult for me to get them to understand that we live wherever we are. The idea of that kind of freedom was foreign to them. And for this, I felt sad to realize that society will define life for you. But I was going to heal them of that forsaken identity as I searched for my own. We have to take one day at a time, one day at a time. We were from a city, a busy city, a beautiful city where lights choke the beauty out of a night sky. On this night, though, I got to show my children the stars from which they come. The stars were shining so bright. They were so close, unlike I have ever seen. The first night of being in heaven on wheels was under a starry sky of all of its cosmic beauty.
As I can only be me.